You know, there's something special about using wooden utensils in the kitchen like this pie server we're going to make today. If there's something you're interested in, keep watching. Hi, y'all. Mike Peace, wood turning. I'm passionate about wood turning. I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and techniques and projects to help you become a better wood turner. So if this is what you're interested in, please click on these. I'll get it right one of these days. The subscribe button and the notification bell, so you don't want to miss any future videos. Okay, I made this one. Did a trial run. This one out of ash. I got this project idea from an article in Woodturning Fundamentals, May 2018, which is a digital publication by American Association of Woodturners. Y'all might want to check that out. It's a great organization, and not only do you get the printed magazine, you get the electronic issues, which just chock full of beginning projects like this off-axis one-piece pie server. The article is by Michael Hamilton Clark, and let's get started. Now, for a piece of wood, it takes a piece of wood about 10 inches long, or for those of y'all that are imperial challenged, about 260 millimeter and about 50 millimeter thick, or about 2 inches. Let me show you a diagram of how we're going to do this. You understand. Okay, here's the diagram. We're going to turn this off-axis between the middle of the handle and the middle of the point, and shape the handle, and shape this transition around the haft. Then we're going to take it off the lathe, and we're going to cut this. We're going to cut this part out with either bandsaw or coping saw, and then you're going to cut this out with a bandsaw or coping saw, and then do maybe a little sanding work, maybe on a belt sander if you got one. And we might decorate it with some rings or some burn rings here. So the pie serving part, or the scoop, is about 4.5 inches long. Then we leave an extra 1/4 inch on the end for waste, because we're going to start this between centers. So you're going to mark that piece of wood at 120 millimeters, and then on the other end it's going to be the handle, including the scrap, is 140 millimeter. Without the scrap, the handle is going to be 5 inches long. So let's get started. I'm going to use today a piece of my favorite wood. That's Bradford pear. You want a dried piece of wood with tight grain, and a fruit wood works well. Cherry would probably do pretty well. Maple would do well. I would not use ash. I think it's just a little too coarse for this project, but it was good practice. So I have marked the general profile. Okay. This is the scoop portion. Here's the axis from this point. That's where we're going to put the point in. You're going to come off of the end where the point of the server is going to be, and you're going to come up about 5 millimeter and make a center mark. Then we're going to do the other end, and where this is on this end, we flip it over. We're going to go to the other end for the center of the handle. So we're going to come down that 50 millimeter halfway, and we're going to make this about a 1/2 inch, or about 12 millimeters to the center. That's going to be the center of the handle. So that's right about there. Now we're going to mount this thing, and I'm going to, the handle's the part we're turning, so that's the part we're going to put toward the headstock. All right, so there we go. So now I've marked center with a punch, so I've got some indentations. I'm going to use a steb dry. That's the ones with the little teeth on it. If you've got a live center with the spurs, this may be a bit more challenging. But I'm using a steb center. We're going to just closely put that in there, and then we're going to bring this up. All right, so you can see this is off axis the way it's going to turn. So bring up your tool rest. Make sure it clears all the way around. That's very important. And we're going to turn the handle down, and when we turn it round, then it's going to be on the center axis, but it's going to be coming down on our pie server, if that makes any sense. We're also going to turn this end down just to take the weight down and to make it a little more balanced. We're not going to go too far with it, but it's going to help if we take it down. You can use any number of tools. You can use a spindle roughing gouge if you like. That's that tool that looks like this. It's either 3/4 to about 1 1/4 inch, and it's shaped kind of like a U, generally flat across. Some people want to bring the wings back. I like to keep it flat across. You can use that, or the other possibility is a smaller bowl gouge, maybe a 1/2 inch bowl gouge on the American standard. That's where we're measuring the thickness of the bar, not that weird British thing where you measure from the outside of one end to the inside flue to the other, which makes no sense at all to me. If somebody can come up with a rational explanation, please put it in the comments below. All right, so let me get because of this thing being off axis, I'm not going to wear safety glasses. I'm putting on a face shield. And I'm going to use the spindle roughing gouge. We're going to start at a somewhat modest speed. It's about 1200, and I'm just going to start on that, make sure everything is tight. I'm going to get the wood on the end here first because that's where it's most off balance. And the more I take off, the more in balance it'll become. Same thing on this end. I can see a shadow line that kind of lets me know where I'm turning air and where I'm turning wood. The tool rest may be just a little bit high. Let me lower it just a little bit. And now I think I can turn the speed up just a little bit. Now I've got it up to about 1500. Ride the bevel, lift the handle till it cuts. And go slow, don't press very hard, let the tool do the work. Once it gets round, it's going to be a lot easier to cut. So we're just knocking off those edges right now. Need to tighten that up a little bit more. Again, back on this end. And we're not going to get crazy on the scoop end. I just want to remove a little bit to help balance it a little bit. Now I'm going to come out here and really start working this handle. Get a little bit tighter. Now I think I can speed it up a little bit more. The faster it is, the easier it is to turn because you're not getting as much air. But obviously, you got to have a wait till it gets a little bit more in balance before you can speed it up. And a larger lathe with a lot of mass makes it a little bit easier. Now the handle, we're trying to get this down to about 1 inch. So now we can start speeding up a little bit. Just start removing wood. Now, my goal is to get this down to probably about between 3/4 and 7/8 of an inch thick. I think an inch is a little bit thick. And I'm not going to get crazy and bother measuring. I'm just going to see what looks good. Now, because of this off axis, I'm off the tool rest a little bit, so I'm keeping this handle on my hip. Now let's take a look and see how we're doing on the shape. So now you can begin to see how this is going to blend in. I think you can see that. We're going to take this down just a little bit more, and then I'm going to come in here with a bowl gouge and start, or a thick spindle gouge, and bring this back to about here. Matter of fact, I think I'll probably go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch spindle gouge that's fairly deep fluted. It's almost it's a P&N tool that's sold as a spindle gouge, but it's got a much deeper flute than most of them. Now, because I drew that cross line of where that haft meets the handle along the bottom, that's where I want to come up to. I want to come all the way start my cut all the way to the bottom right here and bring it in, and I'll show you how that's going to work. So you can see that line. I think you can, that dark line. So I'm going to come in right there and just slowly take it in. Bring it back a little bit more. Now the angle, I'm bringing it in at about 45. I don't think it's critical. Yeah, now you can see I still want to bring it back to here. I got a little further to go, which means that I can start the cut. Actually, I've almost got to start the cut behind this line. It's not going to touch the wood behind the line, but because of this piece sticking out a little bit, I think I'll pick it up here. So let's try this. Slow and steady. Now I'm going to angle this and kind of use the swept back wing a little bit to kind of take almost like a skew. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of waste right here. So I'm going to go ahead and angle this a little bit and go ahead and mark where that waste is going to be. Again, always clear this. Make sure you're going to get it clear. And I'm going to use a skew to make a little V-cut there. Back about a little about 1/4 of an inch so I remove the damage from the live center, that point. So there's going to be the end of the handle. I'm not going to go too deep, just enough to kind of mark it. While I'm at it, and I've got the skew here, I think I'll probably go taper it down just a little bit. Okay, now it's just a little bit fat on this end, so I want to take that down just a little bit more. All right, now I think I'm going to switch back to the spindle roughing gouge, because it works a lot like a skew, but without much less risk of a catch. Okay, I've got a very nice clean cut that will sand well. I want to decorate this a little bit, and I'm going to do that with some burn rings. So to put some burn rings in there, I need to go ahead and make a little place for them. If I didn't want to use burn rings, I could just leave it like this. Or I could make some little beads, whatever your design calls for. All right, so I'm going to get my guitar string with a knob on each end to hold on to. I'm going to drop my hand in the back, being careful not to get my smock anywhere close to it. Get a little friction going till it starts smoking. And then the last one. Okay. You don't want to press too hard. Again, let the tool do the work. Alright, I'm going to go back to spindle roughing gouge. This is going to be the thickest part of the handle, so I'm going to start from there and then just kind of taper it down. Okay, I like that handle. I think it's got a good thickness to it. It looks good. I've got this back just about as far as I want. Doesn't have to touch the line. That gets me in the ballpark. So now I'm going to go ahead and sand this off camera. I'm going to take this up to about 260 grit, and then after that we're going to take this down just a little bit. Since we're going to have to cut this off with a bandsaw, I'm going to get these scraps down, this nub down on this end, and then I'll cut it off with a bandsaw as I get ready to cut this part around here. So I'll be back after I do a little sanding. Okay, I've got this handle smooth as a baby's butt. I wet sanded it and used a little liquid sandpaper abrasive paste. Now I'm going to extend this line. I'm going to cut with a bandsaw. Or you could do it with a coping saw. It just takes longer. You're going to cut a line, and then you're going to start bringing it up just a little bit. So with a bandsaw, I'm going to come along probably something like that. Okay, let's take it off, go over to the bandsaw. You can certainly sand this out on a belt sander if you've got one, or an oscillating spindle sander. But I want to show you another way. You can use your lathe. I did this on an earlier video on making a spatula. I'll have a link to that at the end of this video. But simply, you're just going to turn this block and wrap it with paper, staple it on each end, and then you got you a rotary sander. I've got a pretty coarse grit on here. I can't remember what it is, but it's probably about 80. But it seems to work pretty good for this. I'm going to do this freehand, so I'm going to take this tool rest off so it doesn't bother me, and I'm going to turn this speed down. See that number right there? This is the number I really need to sand this, but it's not as rough as right now. I've got a little bit of damage there from the dry sander. I got to get it up. So let me sand it like this, And that's done. Now I just want to taper this down just a little bit and get it smooth. I've got this thing at about 860. Now, probably not a bad speed. Okay, you're going to have to do a little bit of hand sanding on. You're going to have to do a little bit of hand sanding on this, and then when you finish, finish with your favorite finish. I could use. I probably might put a coat of Minwax antique oil, but I'll probably wind up using some walnut oil afterwards with a little bit of Mahoney's oil wax finish. That's a nice finish for kitchen types of items. Not too terribly different from that sanding butter video we did with mineral oil and beeswax, except it will harden a little bit better. You visitors, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like button, and especially for you visitors, leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think. Y'all stay safe and come on back here.